We talk about our much anticipated road test results of the Subaru Ascent, discuss the all-new Audi E-Tron and the Lucid electric car, and answer audience questions next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode. I'm Mike Monticello.
I'm Mike Quincy.
And I'm Jennifer Stockberger.
Well, I got another full docket of topics and questions for us to talk about today. But can I take a quick sidebar on a personal note?
Oh, sure. It's your show.
Thank you. Related to that and all this stuff we have to talk about, you know, longtime viewers and listeners might remember that we used to do the show every other week or so. It wasn't a strict schedule. And then we talked about doing it once a week, which is what we've been doing now for a little while. But when we were thinking about that, I'm like, how are we ever going to come up with enough topics every week? But you know, we have. It's worked out really well. And actually, a lot of it has to do with the audience because you guys have been giving us great questions. So keep those questions coming to TalkingCars@iCloud.com. We love to hear from you guys. And, of course, we love the video submissions, too. And we're going to get to some of those questions later on the show. But let's start with in the news. And this week in the news, shocker, electric cars. All right, I got to laugh.
That wasn't rehearsed.
I'm out of here. I'm going while I'm ahead. But anyway, this startup company, electric, like luxury electric car maker, Lucid, it's announced that it's going to receive about $1 billion, I think $1 billion from a Saudi Arabia investment fund to help it launch its first electric car. I mean, that's not chump change. I mean, that's a lot of money. And then, of course, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Mercedes EQC, the electric SUV that's coming. And this past week, Audi announced that it's first ever fully production electric car, and that's the E-Tron SUV.
Right.
I mean, these are
noting a trend here.
Yeah, these are established automakers. And I mean, is this the turning point? Is this the real deal now, or electric cars becoming something that's, can be taken seriously?
Yeah, so you have your Lucids and your Teslas, but these are, like you say, these are Audi, and Porsche has announced one, and Jaguar, and so we're seeing, like you say, established automakers putting an all-electric luxury brand or luxury vehicle in their lineup. So perhaps some of the production stuff that we've seen may be better, established practices, plants, etc.
Now the E-Tron, so this is a vehicle that sized between the Q5 and the Q7. Starting price is $74,800. It won't be here till second quarter.
That's the thing with all these EVs is many of them they're so expensive.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, we talked about this yesterday, and one thing you said that I thought was very interesting was that quite often technology has to start at the top and trickles down, and that's yes, we already have the Chevrolet Bolt. But beyond that, most of the electric cars are pretty expensive, but maybe they get more of them out there, the technology will start coming down.
Right, and it may not even be that we get electric cars at the commodity level, but some of the technologies, battery technology, 48-volt architecture, maybe they perfect that before it comes down.
Right.
Things that we all will be able to take advantage of in, more modest level priced cars. Let them work it out.
This is one of the troubles that I have with all of these. The brand names that you just rattled off are really high-end stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about big money here. This is not for it to be a commodity, as you talked about. It has to be affordable. It has to be. I mean, even our Chevrolet Bolt, I think, was like $38,000. I mean, that's
and that was the reasonably priced.
That's still really expensive, for what you got, which was a pretty small car.
There is a $7,500 tax credit, available on most of these cars. So I mean, there's that. But you're right. There are some interesting cars coming. BMW iX3. That's an electric version of the X3. The Jaguar I-Pace. The Polestar 1, which is Volvo's electric car brand, and of course this Porsche Taycan. And I mean, Audi is saying that that 30%. It thinks about 30% of its customers in the U.S. will go electric by 2025.
Right.
That's a pretty big number.
Yeah, it is, and I'm not sure it will move that fast, but I do think we'll all get advantage.
Look at just glancing at your notes and looking at my notes, they're kind of saying the same things. I mean, in the second quarter of 2018, EV's share of new car sales stood at 1.6% in North America. So, the numbers always fluctuate, 1.5, 1.6, below 2%.
But and that's combining plug-in hybrids with electric cars.
Which is really
that's
tiny.
together.
Right.
Some industry analysts say that GM sells about 15 to 18,000 Chevrolet Volts a year. EVs account for just 0.5% of GM's total U.S. car sales. Toyota sells 30,000 Camrys a month.
Right.
And, again, and to put it down to kind of normal people's level, I mean, a Camry in most cases, it's more affordable, than a Tesla or any of these other guys that you're rallying off. I mean, everybody admires Tesla, the Model 3, but it's still they've yet to deliver the $35,000 Model 3. So that, again, that kind of the whole thing about affordable EVs is still questionable. I mean, they're definitely part of the future.
It's coming. And to that end, we're going to be buying more electric cars, including this Audi E-Tron, as soon as it becomes available.
Yeah, we have 4 new electric chargers here just to keep up with everything that's coming.
So we're getting ready. They're coming, and we're going to be ready for them. Yeah. So let's move on to our next topic, which is at the track. And this week we're going to talk about the 2019 Subaru Ascent Limited, which we just finished testing. It came off of our test program.
Right. Tons of interest on
Tons
this
of interest. We've gotten a lot of questions from the audience about this car.
Yep.
Subaru needed this. It's a 3-row midsize SUV. They haven't had one since the Tribeca, which didn't do do very well on its own.
That's the car that shall not be named.
If they're going to compete with the Toyota Highlander, the Honda Pilot, the Mazda CX-9,
gotta be good,
the Kia Sorento, you got to have a good 3-row SUV. So, Quince, let's start with you. What do you think of this new Subaru Ascent?
Well, overall, in our testing, the Ascent did pretty well.
Right.
It's roomy. It's pretty quiet. The controls aren't a total nightmare. And I think it's going to be very competitive in this field.
Yeah.
As you said, Subaru totally needs this. As for me, I was very disappointed in the way it drove. The steering to me felt too loose. The front end just felt so detached from the road. It was not very satisfying for me to drive, especially in the highway. It seemed to wander around. And Subaru knows how to build cars with good steering. The Outback, the Legacy, the WRX, certainly great driving cars. And so for me, the driving experience of the Ascent was a real letdown.
Well, I mean, I agree with you to some extent. I mean, yes, the steering, is a little bit vague, and the suspension's a little bit mushy. But that also goes with, it has a great ride. I mean, you can just
there's
drive
a
over
balance
potholes.
there, right? Yeah.
And keep in mind, I mean, the cars it's competing against, they're not exactly great driving vehicles either. You don't think of a Honda Pilot as an exciting car or a Toyota Highlander,
right?
So I'm not sure if the average customer is going to be really thinking that, they're not looking to throw this car into a corner, with real vigor.
But we'll often criticize any car, whether they're sporty or not, for having kind of vague, lifeless steering, and that's the one real downside that I see.
Still need to know where it is, right?
Yeah, well, it's not like it's dangerous or anything like that. It's just not. It's just not a very precise instrument.
But I mean, I drove it again last night just to make sure, and as I pulled into the parking lot this morning, I was flipping through the logbook, and I kept seeing, loosey-goosey steering, vague steering. I mean, as we talk about how we test cars, it's a jury of people. It isn't just one person deciding this car's good, this car's bad. So I guess I feel good that my assessments of the steering of this car are not, completely off base. I'm not insecure, am I?
Jen, what did you think of it?
Well, I'm going to approach it from a family standpoint, which I expect many buyers will be. Some really nice features. Access to even the 3rd row is really nice. It kind of tumbles and slides, or folds and slides. Lots of clear access. Top tether anchors for child seats in the 3rd row, which is not something we always see. A kind of a squarer shape. Good visibility, good that means it maximizes cargo. And then, of course, eyesight, standard eyesight. So a lot of safety built into that car as well. And should benefit from a good Subaru reliability record.
Right. Now, the downside being that, this is an all-new model with a brand new engine. This is a 2.4-liter horizontally opposed turbocharged 4-cylinder. For those that don't know, horizontally opposed. If you think of a normal engine, In a V, the cylinders are up. In a V, horizontally opposed, those cylinders come out 180 degrees.
Yeah.
So the point why Subaru does that is for a lower center of gravity, and it's kind of a Subaru thing.
And a Porsche thing.
And a Porsche thing. But anyway, so what I really liked about it was it has this 260 horsepower engine. We're used to things like the Forester and the Impreza, the Crosstrek, not really having a lot of power. But this thing has some good power. You know,
it needs to.
Really nice low end torque. And that's
It's still kind of a little bit of the peaky, turbocharged, feeling the surge and.
Well,
Right. I said that.
I thought
you got to launch it right.
Yeah, but once you get going, it's fine. And of course, it's in a world of competing against V6s. Most of its competitors have V6s. But I think the engine does really well. And I think one of the other interesting things about it is that it has one of the nicest interiors in terms of fit and finish in this segment. I think Subaru did a great job on that.
And don't get me wrong, I like Subaru. My wife and I have owned 3 Subarus,
Right.
two legacy GT wagons, and a 6-cylinder Outback, a former test car of ours actually. So I'm really big on Subarus, but I just think they missed this one really important detail.
Yeah. Well, I see what you're saying, but I think
certainly be reflected in the score.
Absolutely, it'll be reflected in the score. It'll be out. Our full road test results will be up at consumerreports.org soon. The one thing I will say is I see what you're saying, I hear what you're saying, but I think for the average person, they're going to think of this as just a nice driving family vehicle, and I think they will still be very happy with it.
A lot of parents who are escaping to their quiet.
Oh yeah, and I think that it'll sell really well.
Right.
I think this will be a really successful car.
I think it will too.
All right, let's move on to our next segment, which is audience questions. We do our best every week to answer your questions, so we're going to actually ask a favor of you guys. We're working on a story about repair shops across the country, and what we're looking for is, to get feedback from you guys about your strategy for haggling your auto repair price. Maybe a lot of you don't know that, but you can actually haggle the price of your auto repair. Talk to the guy who's repairing the car. Maybe you can come to a little bit of negotiation on the price, especially when you're hit with that huge bill. So we have some tips, but we want to hear from you guys. What's your strategy? What are your tips when you go in there and you want to just negotiate that price a little bit? Send those to TalkingCars@iCloud.com. You'll be doing me a big favor.
You got to pay to play here.
Right.
And also, make sure you give us your full name, your age, where you live, and whether we have permission to publish what you tell us. Okay. So let's move on to our first. We're going to start with a video question. This is Ben from Ohio, and we're gonna start with this one. It's going to start a new segment of the show we're calling "Wrong or Not Wrong." Okay, so Andrew, why don't you play the tape for us?
Hey, Talking Cars. This is Ben from Ohio. I'd love to see your article on used electric cars because I purchased a used Ford Focus electric about 2 years ago. I did have one thing in the article that I wanted to make a point of correction on. In the article, you said people who buy EVs will have to buy a level 2 charging station, and that's not strictly true. If you drive less than about 30 miles a day, I think you'll find that a level 1 charger might work just fine for you. I've done it for 2 years with my car, and I've never had any kind of issues. So I just wanted to put that out there so people know they don't necessarily have to spend the money. I love the show. Thanks so much for taking my video.
Okay, Jen, so we're going to throw this to you.
Okay.
Were we wrong or not wrong?
So no, we weren't wrong, but we did, and maybe contrary, we didn't necessarily recommend level 2 chargers in that story. We were trying to give an example of what the costs were associated with having an electric car. So we used level 2 as an example. So in Ben's case, he's perfectly happy with his level 1. The difference being level 1 is
can you explain level 1 charging versus level 2 charging?
Well,
Please,
I
people
was
don't know.
trying there.
Okay, seemed like you weren't going to.
So level 1, 120 volt, just like you're plugging in something to your regular socket at home. So level 2 is more like your clothes dryer, 240 volt. What Ben didn't say in his segment or in his question was the charging times are notably different, which is why many people opt for a level 2. And I saw estimates anywhere from 1/5 of the time to 1/3 of the time. So hours less charging time when you're using a level 2 charger with that increased voltage. So for Ben, the level 1 is working.
Yeah, he's driving less than 30 miles a day.
Right, he's driving less than 30 miles a day. So that means two things. One, he's not probably coming up from empty, no charge to full charge. He doesn't need tons of hours. He's just topping it off every night. But it's something to consider when you're thinking about electric vehicles. Do you have the charge time? Are you someone that goes home at night and doesn't really go out much after that, so you can afford to have it sit for those hours and recharge? Or, if you're somebody with children, perhaps you're running errands or you have something you do in the evenings, you may not have all of those hours, and then level 2 might be. So for most people, I think we're hearing level 2 is the way they've gone. That's why we used it in an example. Either one is fine. Just be aware that the charging times are vastly different.
You bring up a good point with children. I mean, if you're in a household with one car and your one car is an EV,
right?
Then you're always kind of maybe running that risk. If you go to work, you pick up your kids, you do errands, you come home, you got to charge up, and you don't have any juice left, and you have some kind of emergency or something like that you have to go out.
Yep.
So that's also something to consider when you're thinking about getting a level 1 or level 2 charger.
Right.
And I just want to emphasize that what we said in the story wasn't that if you bought an electric car, you're going to have to buy this level 2 charger.
Correct, and that's I think what I'm saying.
We were basically throwing it out there that you might want to buy this level 2 charger, and then you're looking at a cost of between $350 to $1,000 to have one installed in your garage. So that's what we were really trying to say.
And I think level 2 makes an electric vehicle more livable.
Absolutely.
We've talked about the keys, 200-mile range. To me, level 2 makes it a more livable.
And the whole point of the article was, as a used vehicle, these EVs can be a steal.
Right.
So just in case anyone hadn't read the
and
article.
Ben loves his. We're happy that and we think it's great. And
thanks for reading the article.
Yes, thanks, Ben.
So let's move on to our next video question. This is Jonathan from Ontario, Canada. Let's take a look at the clip.
Hi, TalkingCars. I just finished my student loan, so I'm looking for a new car. I have a budget of about 40,000 Canadian, and I'm looking for a sporty sedan that has great handling, but still has a smooth ride and a quiet cabin. So I've been looking at something like the Toyota Camry XSE V6, or maybe even the Kia Optima SX Turbo, though I'm also not opposed to a slightly used luxury car like an A4 or a Cadenza. So I'd love to hear your recommendations on what you think I should take a look into. Thanks, looking forward to your answers.
Okay, now we're going to play Jen's favorite game. I think you actually invented this. So as Jen likes, we didn't tell each other what we were going to pick for our choice for Jonathan. So we're going to play that game. I don't know what you guys are picking. Quince, let's start with you. What do you suggest for Jonathan?
Well, a lot of good choices. This is a segment that this is kind of a sporty-ish car segment, not too expensive, but still fun to drive. I really do like the idea of a used Cadenza, because this is a car that kind of flies under the radar. However, my pick for this would be a used Infiniti Q50. Because it's more engaging to drive than the Cadenza. I think it looks nice. I like the interior. I think the V6 engine, if you can get that one, because there's also turbo 4-cylinder. But if you can get the V6, it's really satisfying. Reliability is kind of hit and miss with this car. So that's one of the advantages of the Kia. The Kia is also a little quieter.
So you're recommending an unreliable car.
But I'm just
poor Jonathan.
I was looking at this and I was thinking, and then we had to, I guess, to do the Canadian conversion money thing. That's my choice.
All right. Jen, what do you got?
Okay, so we didn't agree on that. So I would go, and so he said about 40K Canadian,
which is about 31,000,
32,000 American dollars.
With the conversion.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I said was Mazda 6.
Oh my gosh, that's my choice.
Oh, see?
You stole it.
See, we're on the same page. So the reason.
Tell us why.
So he said
and then I'll
Camry,
tell you why you're wrong.
He was talking about higher end, XSE, Camry, Optima. I didn't think those were particularly sporty.
Well, I will say the XSE is actually a pretty sporty driving car. That
much
one
more
is,
so than people think.
Yeah, and it handles actually pretty well, and the V6 is great. I will say the Cadenza didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand the Cadenza in there.
But XSE Camry, 34 to start.
So it's
I was already,
over his,
that's why you didn't let me get to that part.
Because I have to talk.
You do.
I'm in charge. It's my show.
So what I said, though, Mazda 6 Grand Touring.
Exactly. That's what I got. Look at this right here.
Oh
Mazda 6
gosh.
Grand Touring. $29,200.
It gets you into the turbo one, which we rented. Not the one we tested, but that we really liked.
And we all loved it.
We all loved that car.
question.
So the sportiness, but benefiting from Mazda's, redesign, quieter, more refined, Grand Touring. right in his ballpark price range. Sporty,
Yeah.
yet comfortable.
And good on Jonathan for paying off his student loans. He still looks pretty young, so he paid
Does.
them off quick.
Congratulations, John.
Yeah. Let's move on to another question. This is Gerard R. He says, you talked about the Lexus UX in episode 168. None of you seemed complimentary, but you said it would be purchased for the test program. Is there any sort of triage for selecting cars to test? Since none of you liked it that much, maybe the UX is DOA for the testing program and the money/time could be spent on another model or variant. I think actually this is an awesome question.
It is a good question.
Because it actually makes sense. I could see someone thinking that. So I'm going to throw it to you, Quince. You are a prolific buyer of cars for us here at the Consumer Reports Auto Test Center. Tell us a little bit about why we would buy this car, even though it appears we don't really like it that much from our first drive of it.
Well, we definitely study the market. We understand what people are buying, what people are interested in. Hence why we go out and buy every new pickup that gets redesigned because, well, quite frankly, that's what a lot of people are buying. Now, in terms of the UX, when we decide which model or trim line or even options to choose, we'll talk to the manufacturers. We'll get an idea of what combinations of trim lines and options will represent the most mainstream model. So, just in general, that's how we kind of make these decisions about where to spend our millions of dollars every year on.
Well, let's not
test
brag
cars.
about it. Okay?
Well, but it means one of the things that we do here at Consumer Reports, we buy our own
I
test
think
cars.
you're sort of burying the lead, though, Quince, because actually, while all that's true, the real thing is that we try to test every new model that comes on the market.
Right.
So what you're saying is I didn't answer the question properly.
Well, it's more about every new model and every significantly redesigned model. Even if it might be a fairly slow seller, we want to try and get in that new car to see, yes, the technology, see what's different about it, because we want to have that for our model page. We want to be able to have a road test on all these cars. We want to have it for our special interest publications. We want to have profiles on all these cars. And it's helpful if we have actual test numbers for all of these cars. So that's why another reason why we do this.
And you're hitting on what we like may not be
Doesn't matter.
what you
Absolutely
like.
matter. No
So,
question.
and we encourage people to take our ratings apart. We make some assumptions on what the big stuff would be, and that's the other piece. We talked about the infotainment. We talked about the interior. The big objective data. How does it drive? How does it excel? How
Fuel
does it
economy
brake?
in this case.
What kind of fuel economy? Those are the big hitters in the overall or in the road test score.
Yes.
Those are going to make some big difference. The infotainment might be a deal breaker for one of us,
Right.
but may not matter so much. So we encourage people to kind of take those ratings apart of what matters to them.
Right.
They may look at it and go, "That's the coolest car." Looking, I'm okay. I'm going to live with the touchpad and all that we didn't care for. So we want to give the information so that you can make a judgment based on our ratings.
And that's one of the cool things
Yeah.
about our ratings is I've said this before on the show, but you can go across the ratings and look at what sections matter to you.
Right.
Does ride really matter to you? Does seat comfort really matter to you? Or do you want low noise? And so you can look at all that, or maybe it's 0 to 60, whatever it is.
Right.
But you can kind of pick and choose, comparing different cars with our ratings for what aspects of it are really important to you.
And from a day-to-day standpoint, we might judge a seat very comfortable or visibility good. But if it doesn't fit you
Right.
as the owner and driver of the
absolutely.
car
Which is why we
every
have
day,
multiple people
it
do it,
doesn't matter what
Well,
we
that's
say.
the other thing.
It has
Just-
to fit you.
Right.
We're going to move on, but just touching on that, we have many different bodies
Testers.
sit in
Right.
in the cars, and it's a combined score.
Right.
It's not just one person says it's one person. It could fit one person really well and not fit another person, and then those scores get combined, they get averaged out, and all that kind of stuff.
So take your time in the test drive.
Yes.
We always say that.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to another question. This is from David Q. He says, what car would you recommend for a newly minted driver? A car with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, or a car with automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, and adaptive cruise control? Jen, you're one of our safety engineers here
Yeah.
at the track. I'm going to throw this to you. What do you say?
Ideally, David, we'd love to have you get it all. I think we've always said for new drivers, young drivers, get as much safety as you can afford. I'm assuming that they've narrowed it down and they've got it either or. So in this case, I think I'm going to recommend the automatic emergency braking. And I say so only because things like rear cross traffic alert, we love blind spot. The rear cross traffic alert tends to be a more slow speed parking lot type of protection. You're backing out of a space you can't see, probably less
Less likely for
likely
a fatality.
for a fatality or an injury without it. Blind spot, I'm assuming the driver's young. He can still have plenty of motion to look, make, and I would encourage you to teach him to look when merging. The automatic, or her, yes, automatic emergency braking probably has the best benefits in terms of preventing injury, fatality for a new driver.
Right. Yeah. I no question the rear cross traffic warning. It's gone off for me.
It's gone off for me.
Those systems are a
blind spot.
combination of a warning and also some of them will also brake the car for you if it senses a car coming from behind you.
Right.
Super helpful, but life saving. Not as critical as automatic emergency braking or forward collision warning together. And IHS. Has statistics on these where forward collision warning with what they call auto brake, or we call automatic emergency braking, reduces front to rear crashes by 50% and front to rear crashes with injuries by 56%.
Right.
So those are big, important numbers.
I was just going to say, I think when it comes to Consumer Reports recommending safety equipment, it's all driven by data. I remember one of our morning meetings, our boss, Jake Fisher, came in and said, we have new data on some of these active safety systems, and it's clearly showing forward collision warning and automatic emergency braking are worth it.
Right.
And hence we have given more points to cars that bring this on standard.
To that end, blind spot detection, which we call blind spot warning, at some point we've got to get all these names the same.
We're working on it.
IHS says blind spot detection gives 14% 14% fewer lane change crashes and 23% lane change crashes with injuries.
Right.
So it's important, but it's not to the level of forward collision warning and automatic emergency braking. So with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. We want to remind you, keep sending those comments, questions, video submissions to TalkingCars@iCloud.com. If you want to learn more about the cars and the topics we talked about today, you can click on the show notes. For the beautiful Jennifer Stockberger and the zany Mike Quincy, I'm plain old Mike Monticello saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.